to Leitner. Puts it up.
You're listening to the Culture State Podcast.
Get ready. Woo!
Yep. Another episode of the Culture State Podcast. Hardly home, but always repping if you're watching. Got my Greensboro Swarm t-shirt on. My man Dennis Cox over there hanging out. What's up, Dennis?
You've been rocking the Swarm stuff. You had it on our Culture State
Basketball
Saturday
season,
shows
baby.
on the Fan recently. Now you're rocking it on the podcast here as well. You know what?
Basketball season.
Hey, it is basketball season. It's alive and popping. One thing you can do, you can pop a fresh Papa Murphy's pizza in your oven, because every Tuesday, Chris, just for $10.99, you get any large pizza from Papa Murphy's. Again, $10.99 on Tuesdays. Pop it fresh out of your oven. Papa Murphy's changed the way you pizza.
Absolutely. Everybody knows. If you don't know, we'll remind you. I have a background in pro wrestling. I used to be a pro wrestler.
Yes.
After
many wrestlers on this podcast.
Yeah, and after a whole lifetime of being a wrestling fan, I wanted to become a pro wrestler. One of the things that kind of led me to the decision of actually going back and deciding to be a pro wrestler. I used to want to be a pro wrestler when I was a kid, but I was kind of dissuaded from it, as I turned 18. I was like, I don't like the business as much anymore. I don't know if I can make as much money, and I need to go focus on this. I didn't know if I could do it at the same time. And then radio was happening, kind of went down. I wasn't really picking up anything in television. The music that I was doing and wasn't popping off. And I was like, you know what? Even though things aren't on the level as I want it to be, I need to at least say I've done everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let me be a pro wrestler. There was one particular weekend. It was the weekend that Whitney Houston died. I will never forget this. I went to a CWF Mid-Atlantic show in Greensboro. The next day was my mom's birthday. So I was flying to Florida to see my mom. My mom still works at Universal Studios. Who was taping at Universal Studios at the time?
TNA.
Impact Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I went to an Impact taping. I think it was Friday. It may have been, this was a Saturday night I went to. I flew out on a Friday. Saturday night, flew out on a Sunday. I think Tuesday, I went to an Impact taping. And I was like, I'm close to Tampa. Let me just drive over to Tampa to FCW. Went to FCW taping. That was the debut of Cesaro.
Yeah.
There.
A lot of people don't know FCW eventually is what evolved into NXT and WWE. It was the developmental territory in WWE at the time. And
then what ended up, the person that took my tickets at the door was Aiden English. Like, this is when he was just like the ticket guy training.
Yeah.
Big E was there, met him in a parking lot. Like, it was a cool experience. And I saw these guys and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. The year before, I went to a Ring of Honor event and I saw local guys like the Bravado brothers, ended up becoming good friends with them. Saw Cedric Alexander from Charlotte, currently in WWE, team up with Caprice Coleman, who is our guest on the show today. Caprice is from Carthage, North Carolina, in Moore County. Cedric is from Charlotte, and they were a great tag team in Ring of Honor. Ended up becoming friends with those guys. And so I was like, man, like going to that Ring of Honor show in December, February, going to those shows from CWF to FCW and to TNA all within a week. It's like, I can do this. And I got to show you this picture, Dennis.
For all the people that are listening right now, I see my man Chris Lee in his nice tight like lime neon green spandex.
Lime green with the zebra print too.
Yes.
Trim.
Yeah,
and that is me across the ring from Caprice Coleman.
Yeah.
Who is our guest today on the podcast. And if you can't notice it when I'm putting my phone up here, I had like 2.5 abs at that point. I don't have that now.
2.5 abs. That's 2.5 more than I have right now. I can tell you that.
Look at that deltoid too. Like that, I had an athlete's body then. I need to get back to that. But Caprice Coleman, in Ring of Honor, had like a couple like enhancement matches with WWE. It's been all around the world. And I will say this to him, when we talk to him, but he's one of the best wrestlers to come out of the state of North Carolina that never got his just due. but never had a chance to have that true run in at a major company. He did have Ring of Honor but at a major company. And I'm glad that he's getting his just due right now, even as a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's amazing because we're going to talk to him about what it was like during the pandemic, calling matches as a commentator and stuff. I remember actually flipping through the channels and actually saw Ring of Honor Wrestling was on. I was like, you know what? Let's throw it on, because there's been a lot of great talent that has come through Ring of Honor. If you look at some of the big names in professional wrestling, like Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Cesaro that you mentioned earlier, even the guys
Seth
like
Rollins.
Young Bucks, Seth Rollins, formerly known as Tyler Black,
Adam Cole.
Yeah, Adam Cole. A lot of this talent started at Ring of Honor, and unfortunately for Ring of Honor, they couldn't afford to pay these guys. It's just the nature of the business, whereas the bigger promotions could. But watching some of the matches and just like, wait, Caprice Coleman, like, his commentary is fantastic, and just also seeing what he's able to do in the ring, like, this guy's legit good, and he's been all over the place. He's wrestled at Impact. He's wrestled all over the world, like you said, big time in Ring of Honor for the last decade plus. And like you said, he's finally getting his flowers in some way, shape, or form. Something that's coming to him, even though he's at a I say, lack of a better term, a more advanced age than a lot of people in the professional wrestling business. But he's also shown his value of what he can do more than just being an in-ring performer. He does the commentary and also does a lot of stuff behind the scenes too.
I'm going to tell you, this guy, Caprice, though, when you talk about going in the ring with people who are legit strong, I'm going to tell you something. Like, I've been in the ring with the big guys. I've been in the ring with smaller guys. Guys are smaller than me. I was considered small, but I always wrestled at around, I'm 5'9", always wrestled around. When I first got in, I was maybe 190. When I left, I was like 210, but solid muscle. And so I was considered small, but I wrestled against guys who were smaller, who were like, maybe my height, but maybe they're only 150, 140. And I felt strong as hell because I could just throw them around. Caprice Coleman, Cedric Alexander, and Trevor Lee are the strongest people I have been in the ring with. Like, and that is pound for pound, because they can move you in ways that other people can't move you, and it's not to give too much away, but when you see people performing these big time wrestling moves, it takes strength from the person who's giving the move, but it also takes cooperation from the person who is taking the move.
Yeah.
Right. Caprice, Cedric, and Trevor Lee, currently known as Cameron Grimes in NXT, WWE's NXT, are guys that if they wanted to just literally body slam me without me basically sandbagging them, with me not even helping them out, they could do it. They've done it. Like, I didn't know it was coming. And it was like, oh gosh, okay, I guess I'm going. And so and I'll say Cedric is at the top of that list, but Caprice is an athlete, man. And so don't let the age fool you. Like, he calls himself the ageless wonder for a reason. He's still one of the guys that can get up there and probably do a lot better and still more athletic than a lot of 20-something-year-olds.
Well, he's just part of that long list of people that you said come from Moore County, North Carolina. The Matt and Jeff Hardy we've had on our show, Shannon Moore, Caprice himself. It's just, and then even not far down the road, Johnston County, where you have Hurricane Shane Helms is from. This little pocket in North Carolina, it just seems to keep producing a lot of talent in the wrestling business.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Caprice Coleman right here on the Culture State podcast, baby. You're gonna love this one right after this. All right, Dennis, we've had a few wrestlers on our podcast before, but this is the first time we've had a pro wrestler on that I've actually been in the ring with, where I've wrestled them and I've also tagged with them as well. So Caprice Coleman, the ageless one, doing his thing. He's the current AML champion. He's also in Ring of Honor and just wrestled all over the world. One of the best wrestlers to ever come out of the state of North Carolina that I feel like never gets the acclaim and accolades that he truly deserves. So Caprice Coleman, welcome to the Culture State podcast. We appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me on this show. And Chris, I'm proud of you, bro. I remember you from being a fan of wrestling to getting into wrestling, doing good at wrestling, and getting back out, getting great at what you've already been good at. So I'm proud of you, man. We look at you. My family is a big fan of you and your family.
Appreciate it. If we were in Charlotte, we'd hang out a lot more, but COVID and you know, to drive.
It's all good. It's all good. It's that type of friendship to where we don't even have to see each other for a minute. When we see, we know the love is still there. So it's all good.
Absolutely. So first off, as I chew on some ice, sorry about that. I wanted to just talk about how you got started in wrestling. I know that you go back and with Matt Hardy and you guys, he trained you and everything, but how did that all start? How did you guys actually end up linking up? And, you know, when did you kind of discover that, like, hey, I can be pretty good at this pro wrestling thing?
I wrestled all the way through high school, and high school, my senior year, I did pretty good. Wasn't good enough to go into college, but I did good, and I was always in shape, and I loved wrestling. And I was one of the high school wrestlers that I liked collegiate wrestling, and I also liked pro wrestling. And that is a rarity because a lot of high school wrestlers hate pro wrestling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was one that loved both. And the year was about over. The season was definitely over. And we had already finished the tournaments and the seasonals and all. And so I had went to, I want to say like maybe it's a gas station or somewhere. And this guy was putting up signs for like a pro wrestling event. They was going to have it like an armory or something. And I was like, what is this about? And he was like, oh, he came up to me. He was one of the wrestlers. His name was Commando. I'll never forget it. I don't know what he's doing now, but he was like, yeah, we have it. I'm a wrestler and this and that. And I'm looking at him like, okay, like, I think I can take this guy. and you got to, you know, back in this time, I weighed like 125 pounds. So it wasn't the same Caprice Coleman that you see now. This was like a scrawny 18-year-old. And I'm looking at this guy. He probably weighed 180 pounds or something like that. But I'm looking at him like, I don't know, you know. And so I said, well, I want to be a wrestler. I said, I wrestled all the way through school. You know, I would like to train. And he kind of looked at me, I guess the same way I looked at him and was like, sure, whatever. And he said, we train on Sundays if you want to come check us out and see if there's something you like. And so I came there and he wasn't there. Matter of fact, he's never been there. Never seen him before. After that, like he disappeared. He was on posters and everything. Hadn't seen him since. Like maybe he was an angel or something. But I'm serious. Like I have no idea what happened to Commando. Okay. And so
it was Jesus coming down, like Leo, letting you know, like, hey, this is your calling right here.
Yeah. And so he disappeared. And so I get there and I pull up in this yard and there's a wrestling ring in the yard. And so I pull up and I walk out and they just kind of look at me and I look at them and I'm just like looking at the ring because I've never really been that close to a wrestling ring or whatever like that. And I introduced myself and it was Matt and Jeff and Trevor Lee's dad, Tracy. It was Tracy's house. And they just kind of introduced themselves to me and I told them how I found out, you know, who they were or whatever. And I think I had a phone number first. They told me like when they practiced and whatever like that. So I had already introduced myself to them on the telephone and told them I was going to be there or whatever. So yeah, that's how it started. And like I said, I weighed probably 100. By the time I graduated high school, I probably weighed 125 pounds then because I wrestled 119 my senior year. And so I probably weighed at the most 130. And so they were kind of looking at me, I guess, the same way the Commando looked at me or whatever until I got in the ring and I wrestled a little bit and they realized, okay, this guy is a shooter or whatever. And so Matt kind of took me under his wing and Matt wrestled a little bit in high school and so did Jeff. And so like Matt was not scared of me one bit, man. And actually, like, to be honest with you, Matt could beat me in collegiate wrestling. Like, and he didn't even use collegiate wrestling. He was just really, really strong. So he would just grab you and hold you and like just
it's something really in the water in Moore County, man. Yeah. Something in the water in Moore County. Y'all are just strong naturally. Like
he played Trevor, football and Matt he tried to wrestle, but I think Jeff actually wrestled or whatever. But like in that, I guess we had a common respect for each other, and he taught me the bumps and taught me how to run the ropes and all that. And Shannon Moore was there, and he was kind of their smaller guy, and so I refereed for him. For about a year, I trained wrestling and refereed for him. And then one day Matt came to me and he was like, hey, I think you're ready to wrestle. And over that year, I probably gained 30 pounds. So I was probably like 160 pounds or something like that. And just kind of started from there.
What kept you going back? Like what was the drive? Like what was where did the passion come from? What kept you going back?
I've been addicted to pro wrestling. And I say addicted meaningfully. since I was like 3 years old. I remember being 3 or 4 years old, turning on the TV and seeing Dusty Rhodes and him shooting a promo. And I didn't even know it was pro wrestling. I just saw this guy talking on the microphone, and he was talking about like the devil in the boot or whatever. And he was, I think he was feuding with Barry Windham or something. I may have the feud mixed up, but like I remember seeing him, and my attention was drawn to him. And then I started watching pro wrestling, and I was raised up in a single parent home at that time. So like these were kind of like my father figures in a way, or not father figures, but like men, you know what I mean? And so I was hooked on pro wrestling to the point to where when I was punished as a kid, I wasn't punished like you can't go outside or you can't do this. You know, my punishment was like you can't watch wrestling.
That was me.
yeah. And so that's just kind of how I grew up. And everybody just knew me. I was a kid that liked pro wrestling. I used to make the belts, and you know, as I got older, the belts got more detailed or whatever like that. And so that everybody knew that I was gonna preach and I was gonna wrestle, or I was gonna do one or the other, you know. And that was the drive, man, actually being there and seeing people, you know, in the ring. And then I think when I got there, the respect I got from them because of the background I already had in, like, you know, high school wrestling, collegiate wrestling, that initially when they looked at my size, I guess they thought one thing, but then when they saw, I guess, what I had already learned, it was like, oh, okay, we can do something with this guy. And so that drive, that was the drive there, the support system that they had, and the availability they had, and just seeing them and what they were doing was enough drive to keep me into it.
I don't know if you talk about your addiction to wrestling, like I relate to all of that, you know, growing up in Greensboro. But one of the things I always thought was great about you is that, like, you're on national television, you know, with Ring of Honor, and then, you know, you're internationally traveled. But when AEW came to Charlotte for the very first time, I don't know if you want me to say this, so I'm sorry if you do, but I saw you and your son there, you know, because you took your son to a wrestling event. And that struck me because with the level that you're on, I know guys who, you know, haven't made it out of the state of North Carolina that will refuse to buy a ticket to the next indie show to see, like, you know, a big time, you know, pro wrestler or whatever, because they're not booked, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, man, like, he really like loves this thing, you know, just to do it. And I know some people just have that air about them where it's just like, you know, even if they've never made it out the state of North Carolina, they've never, you know, been to Virginia or anything, and they still won't go to other wrestling events because they're not booked. It's like, you know, it's like a slash to their ego or something.
Yeah, I love this sport, and sometimes it's been like a fault to me because I love all aspects of it, and the blessing is that I've been able to do it in a way to where I've been paid to travel the world, and I've also already been blessed to have a transition in line to I was able to move from the ring to the announce table. And so I already have, like, in a way, my future taken care of, because I'm versatile enough to do more than just wrestle. You know, I can wrestle, I can commentate, I can host, I can interview, I can manage, I can produce, I can develop talent, you know. And so these things that I've been able and blessed to get my hands in has made me fall in love with the sport and the business and all of it together, you know. And so yeah, AEW comes to town, and you know, some people, all they have to do is make a couple of phone calls, you know, and say, hey, I'm coming, you know. And you come in, and I love the sport, man. I love, and even when I'm not booked here, you know, sometimes, like, I got my brother Sweet Dreams. I say, hey man, you got a show this weekend? And he'd be like, yeah. And I ride it with him somewhere, go see Soul Patrol wrestle, or I call Cozone, see what Cozone is doing. It's because I love the sport, man. I love the sport. I love the aspects of it. And now, with my age now, I'm 44 years old. A lot of people grew up knowing me, but now I'm at a place to where I can influence others, and the new up and coming wrestlers. I can talk to them, and I think the relationship Cozone and I have, I've kind of, me being his mentor, the people that he mentor kind of look at me as like a uncle or grandfather type thing, if that makes any sense. And so that's really cool, man. And to see, like, what he's doing and people like him are doing with the next generation lets me know that pro wrestling is in good hands.
Absolutely.
Let's peel back the curtain a little bit in regards to getting booked. What was the process like early in your career to get booked on independent shows, as opposed to now later with the internet? It's a lot easier to get your stuff out there. What was the process like early in your career, and how does that compare to now?
I think it's a lot of the same if you think about it, because it's really your work ethic. You know, the advantage people have now, I guess, with the internet, is that they have footage from fans that shoot stuff about them and maybe put up. But the way I used to get booked in the past is I would come to a show, I would ride with Matt and Jeff or whoever the North Carolina crew was, and go to the show, and I would referee for them. But then, like, if they needed a wrestler, an extra wrestler, I was there, you know. And so I would come with my referee shirt and my wrestling gear, and a lot of times they would have a referee and they say, well, we just put you in this match or whatever. And whatever match they put me in, I just did my best in it, you know, and they would get me booked with that company more. And then there would be a promoter at that show that would book me for another show. And it just kept the word kind of got out that way. And you would get asked to go here, asked to go there. And you just take the bookings. And I believe it's a lot of the same now. The only difference is the power of the internet and social media makes it easier for other people to contact you now in different places.
Yeah, because I can only imagine just getting in touch with people, because if you weren't by your phone at home, you didn't get that voicemail, you didn't get in contact with somebody.
Yeah, my phone number has been the same for over 20 years because of that. I'm scared to change my phone number because I might get decall or whatever like that, you know. But yeah, you're right. You put your phone number out there, your email out there or whatever, and then I'm old school enough to where you send your 8x10 and a videotape, you know, to some companies, you know. And I've been in wrestling long enough to where I've had atlases, road maps, to MapQuest, my own with the GPS system, to doing it on your phone, you know. So I don't know what years that kind of covers, but I've been in there
a lot of years.
I've driven to a potato chip piece before because it was on the map, and then got to it and touched it and it was on my finger. I was like, crap, I'm in the wrong place.
One of the things I always admired about you, you know, I did all kinds of things, and back when you knew me in wrestling, it was one of those things for me where it's like, all right, what's going to work? Is it going to be TV, radio, or wrestling? And you know, I was going to go with kind of where the money took me at that particular point, which is kind of what ended up happening. But you also are a minister, and I've always kind of admired like folks who have like different things and they can brand themselves in different ways. How with the negative connotation that wrestling sometimes gets from people with, you know, some of the things that may have happened in the past, how have you helped balance that as far as like showing that you're a man of faith, you can preach the word also, but then you're a pro wrestler and you can still perform, be very much so entertaining, but also just a great character and somebody for kids to also look up to at the same time?
It's just on the person, man. You know, this sport is not for everybody. And I'm being honest, and I'm also being transparent, because there were times where I had to sit down and ask myself, you know, am I going to be part of this sport, or am I going to let this sport be part of me? Mm-hmm. You know, and in a short story I'll tell is I was washing clothes one day, and washing my dark colored clothes, and I ended up putting all my clothes in there, and I noticed one of my white socks had fell in the dirty clothes. I mean, the dark colored clothes, but it was the cycle had already started, and I was like, oh, whatever. And so after they had finished washing, I put them on the dryer and I dried them or whatever like that. And after they dried, I pulled all the dark colored clothes out. So where's that white sock? And I looked at it and I said, oh, it's white. I said, I just put it up here. And when I finished washing my white clothes, I just joined them back together. And so I did that and washed the next load. My next load was the white load or whatever, put it in the dryer and all. And then I'm separating the clothes, and I was like, oh, where's that white sock at that I washed with the dirty clothes? With the dark color clothes. And I went and got it, and I paired it with the sock that it was supposed to go to. And with the darker color clothes, it looked like a white sock. But when I put it back with its initial white sock, it was dingy, it was dirty, it didn't look the same because it had intertwined itself with the dark color clothes. And what that told me was, you know, you can be seen as a white sock wherever you go, because you're a white sock. But are you still a white sock when you get in the presence of other white socks? And so that's the struggle I've had in life, is making sure that I can still be a white sock when I get back into church. You know, not letting things influence me in the entertainment world that would dinge me in the spiritual world. You know, and I've struggled with that. I'm not gonna lie. You know, but through by the grace of God, He's kept me. He's held me, and the further I've got away from Him, and the love that He's shown me has given me love for people that are far away from Him, because I understand them more, if that makes any sense. Because no one, I don't feel anyone intentionally is like, oh man, I'm gonna be a bad person, I'm gonna be the worst I can be, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. If they do, they say it, but they don't really mean it, because they want to say they have a good heart. But when you've actually done that stuff, there's a point where you can get to where you're like, oh man, nobody's gonna love me now, and I'm sure God doesn't love me, all the things I've done. And I'm that person who's like, yeah, He still does, you know, because I can relate. I've done this, and there's probably nothing that you've done that I haven't done, and He still loves me, you know. And so I have that testimony now.
I'm assuming you've had conversations with other performers in the locker room along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, some I've been in the sport with, they've chosen to leave the sport, and that was what was best for them. You know, because you have to make that choice for yourself. You know, what's best for you, because the sport for them gave them access to things that they wouldn't have access to in other places. You know, so they chose to leave the sport. And I know a couple of them now, like ministers now, that I go to their church sometimes, and sometimes they let me speak at them and all that stuff. So you really have to. It's really on you finding out if it's what you want to do, and if you're willing to stand in that circumstance, to stand in all of that, you know, and being able to, you know, stand, and if you get knocked back down, stand right back up and not waddle in it.
I want to talk about just Ring of Honor really quick. I know that they've kind of fallen on hard times just because of the pandemic, and I mean, you know, every wrestling company, every company has felt it in some form or fashion. And at the end of the year, everyone is on contract. Will basically go to being paid per appearance after they take a little hiatus. You know, what's going to be the future of the company after that? Are you going to still be a part of that? Are there other opportunities that could possibly come up for you after you know, this whole situation kind of clears up? I
don't know. You know, I was part of the meeting, and they told us before they told everybody else, before they made an announcement. It took everybody by surprise. I have been loyal to Ring of Honor for 11 years. I've been under contract with Ring of Honor for 11 years. The reason why I chose Ring of Honor is because Ring of Honor is the only place that's never lied to me. They told me what they was going to do with me. They told me their intentions with me, and everything they've ever told me was their truth, you know. And during the pandemic, it made me respect them even more, because WWE fired over 100 people. Ring of Honor kept everybody on and hired people that were on per pay appearance that they were looking at to keep them from being homeless. Because in professional wrestling, you know, if you're following this dream, there's a point where you get to where you can't hold a 9-to-5 job, because that 9-to-5 job is like, oh, you're going to have to pick, you want to do this or you want to have a real job. You know what I'm saying? And so you can get to a point to where you're really good enough to make it on your own wrestling, but you're not with a company. You know what I'm saying? And then that company looks at you and be like, hey, you know, we can pay you to make a living if you join us. You know, so there were a lot of wrestlers that were in that situation. A few wrestlers that were in that situation that Ring of Honor was like, hey, you know, we were looking at you anyway. We're going to give you an opportunity to make a living. We're going to take care of you during the pandemic. Wrestle for us, you know, when the pandemic is over. So they did that for us, and it kind of won me over to Ring of Honor, because I realized then that Ring of Honor is a company that I'm not a number for, I'm a person. You know what I mean? And so I was sold out to them, still sold out to them. And so when this happened, I know it wasn't anything intentional. If they would have had to do things different, they probably would have. But it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. you know. And so for me, they have told me that, you know, I have an open door policy with them. I definitely haven't burned any bridges with them. When they open back up, I'm definitely welcome back. If the management is the same, you know, so that part, you know, I wait on. But then until then, I have to pay bills. You know, I'm not going to lie to you, even right now, with me knowing that, you know, my last check is at the end of the year or whatever like that. I'm I'm out driving Uber to like be ahead of the game. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that way I'm gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine because you have multiple streams of income, and you try not. I say don't put everything in one basket, but I would say you put everything in every basket. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes one basket is gonna be big, and one time another basket is gonna be big, or whatever. But what Uber has allowed me to do is the freedom to where when I get that phone call or when I get that, you know, message that, hey, we need you in this day, I could drop everything and I can go. You know, and it's allowed me to turn it off and turn it on when I need to, you know, and because I was able to make a good living at Ring of Honor and just do this when I felt like it. But I've always kept my paperwork in, and so now I'll do this and other things that come up until something lands, you know, and I'll do what I have to do because I am the breadwinner at my family, you know, and so whatever I need to do, I'll do.
What was it like wrestling during the pandemic when there was no crowd for Ring of Honor?
Actually, that was the part that I think in a way made my career as a broadcaster, because with Ring of Honor, we didn't have a crowd. And so it was just my broadcast partner and I's voice, you know. And so they had the Pure tournament to come. They brought back Pure Wrestling to Ring of Honor, and they had a tournament for the Pure title. And Ian Riccaboni and I were the broadcast team for that. And Jim Cornette and a lot of other people got wind of us calling these matches and deemed us the greatest broadcast team in pro wrestling and this and that. And I don't believe, and I believe people like this before, but they were forced to hear us without the crowd then, and it kind of really won them over more. And so it kind of made you pay attention to wrestling more and really listen to what's going on. And I feel my gift is the ability to tell the story of pro wrestling and make it about the people that are inside the ring and not about me. You know, I've watched matches before that I've been a part of that I go back and watch just to see what happened that maybe I've gotten hurt on or something like that. And the commentators are like talking about themselves or talking about something else or putting themselves over. And I'm like, man, if I ever had that opportunity, I would really try my best to make it about the people that are inside the ring, because they're literally putting their lives on the line. There are people that have lost their lives in that ring. There are people whose lives are changed forever because of what they've done in the ring, you know. And so I try to make it my business to tell the story about what's going on in that ring while they're in there.
Well, you know, one of the things I think is interesting about the wrestling business is that it's always changing, it's always evolving. And, you know, I was talking to Darius the other day, and I was just like, you know, with the Ring of Honor thing, with all the people that WWE is letting go, you know, there's not going to be enough room in other organizations that are out there. But somebody is going to come along and build something up, whether it's Ring of Honor coming back or, you know, to where it was, or something else, you know, coming along. Like, I feel like it always happens in wrestling that way. And I remember, you know, and he put me on to this particular match. He was like, you know, you have to watch Gresham versus Lethal in a Pure match. This was sometime last year or maybe earlier this year. And that was one of the things that struck me. It was just a 10-minute match, but you and Ian Riccaboni did an amazing job. And I was like, these guys probably need to be elsewhere or like on something bigger. And that's no disrespect to Ring of Honor, but like, you know, you guys, you know, we're doing it at a very high level, and it was really good, you know, as far as, and then also looking at as a broadcaster at you and how you've grown in that. I'm definitely proud of you as well. But I see you're getting back into the ring though, at Ring of Honor though. So how's that been kind of doing the back and forth thing?
Well, I love the sport, man. And my nickname there, they call me like the most versatile man or whatever, or the switchblade of or the Swiss Army knife or whatever. It's like wherever they plug me at, you know, I'm going to do what I can do there, you know. And I landed the opportunity for a full-time commentary position when Colt Cabana left. And so I was offered the position, and I was like, sure, I'll take it. And I was under an exclusive contract then. And so being under an exclusive contract, I could only do Ring of Honor stuff. And so the only thing that hindered me is that, it took me off the indies. So now I'm an athlete that's off the indies that can only wrestle at a place that I'm commentating. And so in a meeting we had one day, because I was blessed to be part of creative and production and all, there was an idea to bring me back in for like a past versus present type thing. And I was like, man, I'd love to do it. Just know that it'd be the first time I've been in a wrestling ring in 4 years, like in front of a crowd, And it was like, yo, I hadn't thought about that. I was like, well, yeah, I've been exclusive, And after the meeting, I was like, hey, what about you allow me to do some indie stuff to kind of keep the dust off my cape, to keep, in shape. That way, when you need me to do something, I can do it and know that I'm going to give my best and not come out and they be like, oh, look at this commentating body. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
like what I have right now.
you have a host body. No. but that was my thing. I didn't want to get to where I was like, oh, I'm a commentator now, I don't have to do this. And so and I was training at High Spots. I became one of the head trainers at High Spots and training some of the young up and coming athletes. I really fell in love with it even more. And then that realizing the blessing behind me being in shape enough to keep up with these guys, I feel like I still have a lot to offer to the sport, and so I did it, and being out, I've been given a lot of opportunities that have really paid off for me, and it allows me to be the person that if I'm somewhere to fire me, they would have to hire 3 people to replace me, if that makes any sense. And that's knowing your worth, and that's knowing what you're capable of, and knowing what you have to offer. And so with me being blessed to stay in shape and be the shape that I am for my age, and to have the wisdom that I'm able to retain, and still being humble enough to get more wisdom, I believe allows me to continue to climb up to different levels.
All right, final question here. How good was Chris in the ring? I didn't get to see him wrestle.
I think he's beat me before. I said it.
All right.
Chris was solid, man. Chris was young. And when he wanted to do it, he did it. He gave it his all. He what you call solid. Nothing that sticks out like, oh my God, this guy's a star. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, are you wrestling Chris Lee? Okay, I'm gonna have a good match. He's gonna be solid. We're gonna be safe. We're gonna have a good match, and we're gonna have fun. And also, like, yeah, he was a solid guy, man. Solid. He could talk because of the radio host type stuff, and so he was a good interviewer, a good promo. I think everybody enjoyed Chris Lee when he was part of pro wrestling, and every time he shows up at a show, we're like, is he back? Is he back? And so yeah, he was good, and I'm sure he had stuff that he could show you and all that. He was a solid performer, man. And
speaking of that, he actually did show me. So we actually did some promo shoot for our show for Culture State, and he's like, "Hey, let me pick you up for a body slam." I was like, "What? You want to pick me up?" Like, I weigh more than Chris. I just want to let you know. You can't tell by the pictures right now, but I weigh more than Chris. He's like, he showed me how to do it, and sure enough, he picked me up. Yeah. And we looked back at the video, and he's like, do that pretty well. I was like, well, you taught me how to do it, Chris. So yeah, he's a great teacher too. I will give him.
I will say this though. I'm in a position now, especially after the pandemic, where I have more weekends free. Because before, when I left, the reason why I left is because I had to work on weekends, and that's when wrestling mostly happens. Mm-hmm. I'll have most weekends free when there's not like a huge game, especially spring and summer. And so I've already dropped a couple pounds. I'm gonna be hitting the gym, trying to find a place in Raleigh where I can run some ropes really quick. Maybe we bring back CNC Part 2 really quick.
I'm just waiting for you to throw the C's up, man.
just really quick. Just really quick. Shout outs to Cedric. That's the original CNC.
Absolutely.
But I enjoyed. I think we tagged once at Five Star, and I enjoyed that. And I will say this: I agree with your assessment of me. Just because, like, I don't think I was in wrestling long enough to get like amazing. Like, I was only there for like 4 years. But I do feel like right before things kind of changed in my career, I was starting to get to that point where I was about to hit a next level, and then my career started taking off.
It's life though, man. Look at
Yeah.
you, bro. Like, look at what
Yeah.
you're doing. Look at the accolades that you have now. You're a married man with children. You have your house. You have your career. You're on TV. You're on radio. Like, bro, like you're doing the right thing, and you still like wrestling's not going anywhere. If you
No,
want
it's
to pick
not.
it back up, you know,
Yeah.
you have not burned any bridge. You know what I mean? And so,
And I'll say this, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from you because I'm 35. And so there's been times where I was just like, man, am I too old? And then like, I'll see you in the gym putting up 100-pound dumbbells and calling yourself the ageless one. It's like, all right, yeah, I can still do this. I still got time.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think our life is full of opportunities, you know, and the opportunities we take, you know, is what make us. You know what I mean? And things that don't happen a lot of times is because of opportunity we didn't take, you know, and sometimes you take an opportunity and it doesn't work out, but you know it didn't work. But you need to know that it didn't work out because it wasn't supposed to. And the only way you'll know that is if you tried it 100% and didn't have it, you know? And so I think it's take the opportunities, man, take the chances and move with it, you know, and keep going.
As long as I can be your guys' manager. You guys tag back.
We could at least do it once. I'm sure we could call Cozone or something and have like a one-time thing, as you know.
Listen,
whatever.
Cozone every few months checks in when you coming back. So yeah, I already know that if I don't have a home anywhere else, if nobody else will book me, I know Cozone will. I know I can go to Greensboro.
I would drop this seed. If you ever came back to Firestar Pro Wrestling as a host, as an interviewer, and ever gotten any trouble and needed somebody to tag with you to get you out of it, you know my number. And I'll leave it like that.
I've had trouble with the Dawsons before. So I'll just put that out there. And I never got a chance to get my revenge. That's back from 2016.
I have too. I got a rookie body, a veteran mind, a silver tongue. I'm the ageless one of a kind. You know my number ain't changed in 20-something years, bro.
Sounds good. Dennis, you'll be right there in the corner. Caprice, I really appreciate it.
No problem.
I want to thank Caprice Coleman, the OG, doing his thing, man. I love that guy. He's always been a genuine person, and he has a great family as well. I mean, we talked a little bit about him, but his wife Melody is amazing. He has 2 beautiful kids. Chase is going to be, if he decides to wrestle, will be a good pro wrestler. I saw it when he was little. He just had it in him. He has a great personality, and he's a great rapper too.
Okay.
When we talk about lyricists out of the state of North Carolina, Chase Coleman. Oh, I don't know what his rap name is, but his name is Chase Coleman. He is amazing with it. He's got bars. And Gabby is a beautiful young girl, and she is talented in a bunch. Yo, listen, I love that family. That's a great family.
So Chase is a young Show Smooth, is what you're trying to tell me.
He's a young Caprice Coleman. I will say that because, you know, I feel like I was a good rapper, but I was never like the guy with the witty, the crazy witty, you know, amazing bars and the crazy flows. Like if he reminds me of like what Kendrick Lamar probably sounded like when he was young, like 14 or 15 years old. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Like just the way he's like, you know, he's got it. He's got it. So. Sure.
I mean, I have it too, but no one ever hears it.
I can spit something for you if you want me to.
No, it's okay, Chris. That's fine.
Okay.
We'll save it for the live shows on Saturdays, 10 over on 99.9 The Fan and WRLSportsFan.com. That was a fantastic conversation with Caprice. It was really awesome to hear his honesty about a wrestling company, because we often hear in the wrestling business about people getting stabbed in the back or just, you know, lied to, whatever it is. It can be very dirty in many ways, for lack of a better term, which you probably know that experience way more than I do. Yeah. But to hear him say, like, look, that company was honest with me. That says volumes for a company. And just the way that I can relate to that, just as a person who's never been in the wrestling business, is just being appreciated by an employer. That is something that everyone wants when it comes to their job. They want to be appreciated and valued, you know, as a person for their company, not just a number or someone who can just how much can we squeeze out of this person? You know, that's something that unfortunately has infiltrated a lot of corporations everywhere. But it was awesome to hear him say, you know what? this company valued me. It's sad to see the Ring of Honor. For those who don't know, Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. After this year, they're basically kind of shutting doors. They're going on hiatus. They're going to try and reevaluate how they want to handle the company and what they want to do moving forward. So yeah, like a lot of the wrestlers that are under contract are getting released and just going to get paid per appearance, which is unfortunate because this is how people pay their bills.
Yeah. It was something that I was worried about when I saw. I instantly thought of Caprice when it happened. And there's been so many other people. I mean, we mentioned earlier all the people that came out of Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor was there. I hope Ring of Honor doesn't go away. But if it weren't for Ring of Honor, we don't have, if you're a wrestling fan, you're going to hear all these names. We don't have CM Punk. We don't have Samoa Joe. We don't have Daniel Bryan. We don't have Seth Rollins. We don't have Cesaro. We don't have Cassius Ohno. We don't have Cedric Alexander, Caprice Coleman, the Bravados.
Kevin Owens.
We don't have Kevin Owens. We don't have Sami Zayn, who is El Generico there. We don't have Adam Cole.
Young Bucks.
You know what I'm saying? Adam Page. There's so many people in Ring of Honor to give them their flowers from like 2005 to about 2018-19. Ring of Honor made more stars for other wrestling companies than any other wrestling company that's out there, right? Like, if you were somebody of note, if you were the next star coming up, you probably went through Ring of Honor first. And it got to the point where WWE's NXT was basically a reboot of Ring of Honor, WWE style.
Yeah.
If we're being completely honest, Tommaso Ciampa, he was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many people that came through. So I don't want to see that company go away. I hope they're able to, kind of figure things out and get back to, where they were. And I think they were always in a good spot to be the legit number 3 company in the nation and to produce the next stars. Yeah. If they can get back to that level, I think it's beautiful and it's smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, a lot of those guys that we mentioned, Ring of Honor for several years was the biggest, not say the biggest, but was probably the hottest wrestling company in the world, along with New Japan, because a lot of people don't realize is that they had what's known as a talent sharing agreement with New Japan Pro Wrestling, where wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling can come wrestle for Ring of Honor here in the United States, and vice versa. Ring of Honor stars could go wrestle in New Japan. So these wrestlers were able to literally get worldwide exposure and allow them to more work opportunities. It created for fun matchups. It was really great for wrestling fans to see that. And for a long time, it was the hottest thing going. And then now you see, again, you mentioned the people are in WWE, but a lot of those top stars during that hot stretch or what started All Elite Wrestling, which is probably the hottest company in wrestling right now, is All Elite Wrestling. A lot of those guys all started from Ring of Honor. Their contracts expired at the same time. Ring of Honor just didn't quite put the money up that they thought to keep some of those top guys. And guess what? Tony Khan, who's part of the ownership group of the Jacksonville Jaguars, his family owns the Jags, put the money in. Everything just kind of fell into place. And again, a lot of those top stars from Ring of Honor, like those matchups we see, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy wrestled in Ring of Honor from their time away from WWE. That all stemmed from there. So the hottest wrestling company in the world right now, All Elite Wrestling, all those guys all came from Ring of Honor. It's amazing. And I think that's why it's sad to see it close down, because it's done so well and it's produced such great talent.
I think one of the things, like, I'm glad that they had Sinclair, because I think Sinclair gave them extra life. Because it was starting to go down, but it gave them extra life again. But I will say that, Sinclair didn't put its all behind Ring of Honor the way that Tony Khan put his all behind AEW.
Yes.
And, you have this big time corporation, and that's no knock against, Sinclair. Sometimes you have an asset and you don't know what to do with that asset. Tony Khan has been a wrestling fan his entire life, like super fan, and he knows what to do with that asset. And he went big, and he had the money to do it, and he had the money to go big. There were times where, you watch Ring of Honor and you're just like, they're owned by Sinclair, which is a TV company.
Yeah.
They can at least get proper lights, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to make it look better on TV.
Yeah.
So I think, and I'm not trying to knock Sinclair whatsoever, but I think for a long time, Sinclair didn't really understand what they had, because I feel like they could have filled that void that AEW filled. If the right visionary came along and if they were willing to spend the money. But I have no doubt that at some point, whether it's Ring of Honor or another company that's going to take the Ring of Honor model, they're going to come around and they're going to snap up some of these people and they're going to have jobs again. One of the things that Ring of Honor doesn't get credit for, they made professional wrestling cool again.
Yeah.
After WCW and ECW folded, ECW, of course, was gimmicky in the fact that it was all about the hardcore matches. WCW was horrible its last couple of years. And WWE is more focused on entertainment, hence the E, right? They don't even really tell you what the second W stands for anymore. Ring of Honor came along in the early 2000s, along with the rise of TNA, and they used to share talent back in the day.
Yeah.
And really made the actual art of professional wrestling cool again. So that's one of the things I love about them. When as a wrestler, I would study Ring of Honor DVDs to get better as a wrestler. I have all kinds of Ring of Honor DVDs over there. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to absolutely love about them. And shout outs to Caprice Coleman and everybody that's over there right now.
From right here in North Carolina, Chris. From right here in North Carolina.
Moore County.
Next time you pop in one of those Ring of Honor DVDs, make sure you have some Papa Murphy's pizza with you. You could pop in that DVD, pop in that Papa Murphy's pizza, large pizzas, $10.99 every Tuesday. $10.99 on Tuesdays. Get it fresh. Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza. Give them a follow at Papa Murphy's on Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you guys for watching us. If you're on YouTube, we will be on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Lee TV, at The Fan Rookie, both Twitter and Instagram, and also at Culture State Pod. Please listen, review, subscribe, 5 stars, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. We really appreciate you guys, and we out.
The Culture State Podcast, part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, with new shows coming out every Wednesday. Download and subscribe from wherever you get your podcasts, including the WREL Sports Fan app.